So who is Transcend? Some of you may know us, some of you may not. What I can share with you is that our clients engage with us in three ways. We have a coaching platform where we coach executives and key leaders. We also coach high potentials, and we coach the HR wing of your business, turning it from compliance towards strategic partner. The second way our clients engage with us is through our business performance. Our business performance systems attack how you plan strategy and execute strategy within your company. They also build in agility and innovation sessions, and they build in the state-of-the-art talent management processes that you're looking for. The third way our clients engage with us is CEO forums. So if you're a YPOer or EOer and you're happening to listen to this, we have a suite of forum retreat services that we offer. So that allows us to get a really good read on what COVID is producing across lots of different industries within lots of different leaders. And what you're about to hear today is some of the insights that we've been experiencing as we've coached executives and leaders over the last 60 days, plus some of our insights that we've gleaned and that we're sharing. So let's hop in. The first thing that I want you to know when we talk about post-COVID-19 is it is already post-COVID. COVID has happened. It has already had a major effect on the markets. It's had a major effect in our businesses and in our personal lives. We want you to understand as a leader that your planning and agility is going to look very different at different times as this progresses. Think of COVID like a tiered system where you are going to go through a series of tiers. Each one is going to require a different level of tactics, emotional and communal strategies in order to survive and thrive in this environment. We believe the tiers are going to be fast and furious at first, and then they're going to elongate. So you'll have time to adapt through longer periods. Initially, it was conserve cash, try and get in your receivables. It was a survival mechanism for most businesses. Align your talent with the consumer need and align your organization with the demand. That was a fast and furious pace. This next tier for a lot of our clients is reconsolidating debt and looking at how you can take your debt and extend it if you have, like if you're in the hospitality industry or things along those lines, to give your business a window. For others, right now it's a time where people are feeling a little stuck. They're wondering what's next. Well, today is all about that. It's about the what's next. And to get to what's next, we have to begin with our executive mindsets and our leader mindsets and make sure that we are, look at that beautiful sun. It's an amazing day today. We have to make sure that our mindsets are in place, and then we have to make sure that our strategies are in place, because we're not going to make great strategy without great mindsets. And so agility is going to win now. We know that a great offensive strategy is going to assure your win in the long run. So COVID-19, the catalyst that changed everything. We are living in a platform that shifts and puts everything on the table. And we've been talking about this with lots of our clients. Everything on the table, from how you interact with your family, to your business model, to the type of talent you have, to your financial runways. Everything is on the table. And it is a time where we have to reimagine our businesses, but it's also a time where we get to reimagine our businesses. And that's the first mindset shift that I want to leave you with today. This is a get to moment. You get to put everything on the table that's been in your sack. You get to unload that sack, and you get to decide what stays in my life, what do I want to grow in my life, and what do I want to omit from my life. That's for our business. That's for how we manage ourselves personally and as leaders. And that's also with inside our relationships. It is a time to re-examine. While it may be challenging, pain and challenge sometimes gives us the most clarity around what matters most. So this is a have to and a get to moment. So embrace it as a get to. There are going to be mega trends that are going to emerge from COVID-19, and we'll talk about some of those trends later in the presentation. But those trends are emerging for a couple of reasons. And we want you to walk away with this key insight. This is definitely a medical pandemic. It's also a financial pandemic. But more than that, this is a psychological pandemic. And what do we mean by that? A psychological pandemic. It means that you don't have to have COVID-19 or know someone who has been sick to be psychologically impacted by this event. Every month that passes, the psychological impacts and shifts within leaders, within your talent, within consumer buying behaviors, they are all getting ingrained deeper and deeper. This is a time where we are literally living history, and it's called a historical event for a couple of reasons, because it reshapes the landscape. This is going to reshape the landscape in a massive way. I'm going to share a little story with you about my Aunt Dolores, my great Aunt Dolores. My mom tells a story of my great Aunt Dolores pulling cabbage out of the garbage that had mold on it, washing it off so she could eat it. Cabbage that my mom threw away because it had mold on it. I'll tell you what, my Aunt Dolores passed with hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars in her saving account. So why would she pull moldy cabbage out of the garbage, wash it off and eat it? Because she grew up in the Great Depression. The Great Depression changed her psyche to the point that even though her environment, her financials, everything changed, there were psychological consumer behaviors and personal behaviors that stuck. There is not going to be a ground zero from COVID-19 like September 11th. But this will have an impact that could potentially be hundredfold that. So think about this. It's a psychological pandemic for you, for your teams, for your customers. And so your strategies and how you show up as a leader need to be as much psychological as they are tactical. So where does this leave us? Well, it leaves us with a decision of how do we want to show up as leaders in our company to navigate this in a way that gives us strategic advantage, that gives us a new platform of talent, a new platform of strategy, and that it leaves us with the tools and the mindsets in order to accelerate forward. Talking of acceleration, I want you to think about every trend that was about to happen in 5 to 10 years. It's been predicted to happen in 5 or 10 years. From technology trends to consumer buying trends, virtual remote work trends, environmental space trends like brick and mortar in retail. They were predicted to occur 5 or 10 years from now. COVID-19 has been an accelerant to those trends. It has basically taken trends that were 5 or 10 years down the road and has put them at our doorstep now. And we've lost that 5 years of adaptation. So think about how this change is already taken hold. There are already workers that are demonstrating that they can effectively do their job remotely. We have clients who are seeing great outcomes from the remote workforce as far as how they are collaborating and innovating. These changes have taken hold. Consumer buying behavior trends have taken hold. People have adapted to buying products remotely that they never bought remotely before. People have taken to using technologies for communication and relationship building, like what we're doing now, like they never have before. So getting back to pre-COVID is no longer the goal. The economy, your talent, the consumer buying behavior will never again look like pre-COVID. So the question is, how long is going to be your transition gap from defense to offense? Because that will determine your success in emerging out of this maybe stronger, leaner, more effective, maybe more clear on what matters most in your life. That transition gap from defense to offense. What makes it hard for us as humans to bridge that gap is that we naturally value what we know more than the opportunities that lie on the horizon. And we do that because what we know feels safe. We know what to do in what we know. It's predictable. We have lots of things that we can influence and control in what we know. But now is a time where holding on to what we know and trying to get back to pre-COVID, will actually put you at risk. Risk of losing talent, risk of not meeting consumer needs, risk of not realigning your business so it can survive and move into thrive. So your success is determined by that implementation gap. We want to get you there today. So we are here. You're on this because you're a senior leader or executive. We are in this space because we love to build, we love to create, we love to innovate. Like, we are leaders. We get energy from this leadership platform. We're not all defensive players all the time. Now, great leaders have a defensive platform that they can work from. And we've had to do that in the last 2 months as far as solidifying our businesses and aligning our resources. But we are here because we are offensive players. So let's talk about how we actually get towards offense. We get towards offense by understanding that there are going to be some significant transformations on the horizon. And I'm going to talk just about a few of them. They are numerous. And as you continue to read the literature and we continue to talk with experts and coach experts around the country, the list is expanding. But utilization of physical space. Brick and mortar is going to change, retail is going to change in a significant way. You are going to see spaces being transformed for more gathering, and you're going to see the traditional mallscape look very different. The consumer brands that we have known and grown up with, many are on the brink of bankruptcy already. This has accelerated their demise in many ways. They may not necessarily be able to make the pivot. That physical space in our downtown streets is going to look different. Half of small businesses have a 2-week runway. Those small businesses occupy the majority of our main streets in America. Those spaces are going to be different. We also talk about the office space. There's conversations with many of the leaders we're coaching around, do we actually need that next office building? Do we need the office building we have now? Do we need to have all of our staff actually here all the time? Or do we cycle them through? Some working 3 days a week, some working 2. The other weeks that they're working, or the other days they're working from home. Physical space utilization is going to change. And with that, there will be all sorts of new demands in the market and potentially new demands within your business. The consumer buying behavior, obviously we've talked about that, but that landscape has changed. There are people that are using delivery functions within restaurants and grocery stores that they've never used, and they're finding great success and convenience with that. You are seeing Amazon go through the roof with their stock price for a reason. The American consumer has made the full transition to digital buying. You're also going to be looking at these people technology transformations as far as how we collaborate and how we communicate. These transformations are important because these transformations need to be leading your strategy. The consumer need, the employee need, the business model need needs to be driving your strategy. So all of these trends, like I said, there's a lot more. We could talk about medical trends and people receiving virtual care and more, but there are significant transformations. All of these trends mean we need to adopt some new truths. So this takes us to our first coaching exercise that you can request on the email link that you're going to get after the webinar. But we're going to walk you through a process where we're trying to get you post-COVID. And we're going to do that in a really intentional way by having you think about what were the assumptions and perceived truths that you were living by pre-COVID around your business strategy and your business model. What were you holding as true that may no longer be true? We're going to have you also look at what were you holding on to as truths and assumptions around your organization's ability to pivot and dynamically collaborate and innovate on a dime to get competitive advantage, but also align the business to survive and move it to thrive. What have you learned? What are the potential new truths? And then we're going to have you go down and explore your talent's ability to lead the business forward, and how you leverage your talent for the business model. All of those areas, based on your COVID-19 experience, likely have some new truths. Why are those new truths important?
They're important because if you have new
beliefs based on what you've witnessed, you're going to have to generate some new actions and new communications around how you need to adapt in the coming post-COVID era. So this exercise will have you talk about those decisions that you need to make and those actions that you need to take and the communications you need to have. But we only begin to play offense when we begin to adopt the new truths and realities around us. So we believe you'll find some great use out of this exercise. Our clients have loved it, and we've received some great feedback from forums and teams that we've been delivering this with. Let's stop right there. We're going to see if there's any questions or thoughts that are out there. I'm going to check the Q&A. I don't see anything that's there. Again, please use the Q&A to ask some questions. I'm going to give you a couple minutes at the end, definitely, for more questions. So throw some thoughts out there. We're looking for your engagement, the things that are resonating with you, or the things we definitely want to be talking about. So even though we want to play offense, we want to be realistic and recognize there's some challenges as well. And the core challenges right now are that it's difficult to pinpoint your customer needs. There's only one way you can do that, and that's by pivoting the way you interact with your customers to inquire about their needs. We also know that there's fog over the runway. It's very uncertain when a lot of these economies are going to open back up. But I think there's also fog over the runway around what those openings are actually going to produce. The reality is we don't know. But you can choose to be on the leading edge of that in your business. And that's what we're encouraging you to do today. One of the ways you can be on the leading edge is to resist this piece of the lure of incentives. So the PPP program is put together in many ways to stabilize the economy, but we are surprised that with many of the leaders we're talking to in coaching, that they're using this for a stay as is model. How can we get 2 more months of runway, even though there's fog on the runway, to maintain what we're doing? That right there is believing in the old truths. Avoid the lure of the incentives to stay still. Use these incentives, the PPP model, to be innovative about new talent that you influx into your organization that will take you to where you need to go. Bringing the talent together so you can solve your current pain point challenges that might be very important but have never really been urgent for your business. I'll give you an example. I was talking with a dentist the other day. He was like, I don't really think I'm going to use PPP because I can't serve my clients anyway. The medical infrastructure is shut down for dental. And it's like, no, we definitely want to use PPP. But you're not bringing your staff back to serve your clients. You're bringing your staff back to innovate your practices, to innovate the communication systems you use, the ordering systems you use, your protocols, your billing, using this PPP money to make your business more agile and solve all the pain points that you had. It's not a as-is model. Utilize this cash in innovative ways to move you forward. So we have one of the things, we got a comment here that I'm going to thumbs up that one, which is we need to get better than normal rather than back to normal. I love that thought, Kelly. And I 100% agree. And I think we need to get better than normal as far as how we operate the internal mechanisms of our businesses. We have been given some opportunities around how our teams collaborate, communicate, and innovate through COVID, and I'm going to talk about that. We need to preserve some of these magic moments that are coming out of COVID-19 and use them as catalysts for who we want to become. We're also going to talk about some strategic partnerships. That's another way of getting better than normal rather than back to normal. So we'll talk about that. So one of the things that is popping up here that I'm going to talk about is how you balance the need for defense when trying to survive while playing offense. I'm going to talk to you about 3 types of leaders that we're seeing right now in relation to that question. There is the leader that is panicked, right? They're also dealing with their own psychology and their own family, and they're worried about their employees' health and things along those lines. And so they are in a state of panic, and they are managing all the emergencies, and that is where their mindset is. It's like, how do we stay safe today? Now that's great, because we need to stay safe today. But that's also putting them at risk, because as the leaders of the organization, they're not thinking about tomorrow or the next week or the next 4 weeks or the next 6 weeks. We are pushing our clients to say, okay, we understand you have a grip on what's now, or you're trying to get a grip on what's now, but we need to take some time to think ahead of the trends so you can be ready for the trends, which takes us to another type of leader that we're seeing, the real-time leader. They're masterfully leading everything right now, and they're executing exceptionally well, and they're communicating exceptionally well, but they're still stuck in the now. They're not panicked. They're comfortable. They're confident. They're looking at the near-term horizon, and they're managing that. And then there's the third leader, which is managing the real time, but they're also wise enough to say, as a team, we need to come together and press pause and start talking about what, based on what we're reading, what are we thinking our business model and our consumer model is going to look like 6 months down the road, 9 months down the road, a year down the road. You need to be pausing to have those conversations, because that is going to determine the type of talent that you need on your team. That conversation is going to decide exactly what kind of runway you need, the type of partnerships you need to begin building. So the question to that is, how do you balance that? And I think it's an intentional balance of both, by putting a process into place where you bring your key leaders and key talent in your organization together and say, we need an innovation session to talk about what this means for us on the long-term horizon. So be thinking about that. We're having lots of meetings around the now. We need some meetings around the what's next. So I'm going to kick this forward here. And we're going to talk about, so how do we get into offense? And this is going back to some of the questions we're talking about. And I'm going to tell a story just here about Michael Gottdenker, one of our clients. And he's a pilot. And we did a story on him. You can read it in our insights page if you want to go check it out. It's a great story around how flying relates to great leadership. And he talks about great leaders and entrepreneurs never stop flying the plane. So as a non-pilot, I was like, so what does that mean, Michael? And he says, well, think about this. If your plane's going down, or even if you're on autopilot, you're never stop flying the plane. It might look different, but you are always in control. If your plane is going down and unfortunately you're headed into the trees, you're flying that plane to the very, very last second. You never stop flying the plane. If you're on autopilot, you are constantly scanning the horizon, reading your gauges, doing whatever you need to do to ensure that you're always in this mindset of like, what's next and what would I be doing? You're never stopped flying the plane. Well, right now we have all sorts of leaders that are flying the plane. And the first thing about flying a plane in an emergency is stabilizing the current state. You got to know which gauges are working, not working, what mechanics are working in your plane, and everybody has been scrambling to do that. And many of our clients have done an exceptional, exceptional job. We're so proud of them. But then you also, once you stabilize the plane, you know what you have to accept the horizon dynamics. You have to look at your circumstance of what you have available to you, and you have to look at the horizon and determine the new destination. And you have to do that quickly. By doing so, you allow yourself to begin communicating to the people in the backup lane what the plan is, but you also get to be able to utilize your resources, your fuel resources, the mechanics that you have on board to get to where you need to go. But you need to understand the next destination as soon as possible. Now, when your plane's in challenge, are you certain you're going to get there? Maybe not. But do you still fly to that destination? Absolutely. One of the things that we can talk about is that in this market, we've had clients where this has been a massive tailwind. It has propelled their businesses far beyond the destination that they were thinking they were going to go. There were small market service areas for them that are now their largest share of their businesses because of the medical space or some of the technology spaces they were in. For others, the engines have been shut down and they're having to land the business as soon as possible. But fly the plane. To fly the plane, we need to know what we need to be focusing on, which is going to take us to our second exercise, because we want you dialed in and flying the plane. As you work with Transcend, you'll know one of the things we believe is that leaders are like elite athletes. They need exceptional focus and direction to have their maximum impact and deliver to their greatest ability. There are all sorts of distractions for professional athletes. They have to rule all those distractions out and focus on what they do best. The same thing is true for an executive. Guess what? Just like exceptional athletes, you have to be in peak mental condition, and you also have to allow yourself repair. Same thing is true for an executive. We have to be in great mental, emotional, and tactical performance as an executive leader. And we have to press pause to give ourselves reflection and repair in order to make sure that we are performing at our best. One of the things that we're sharing with you today is this dynamic of influence and control. This is your executive tool to be elite in this moment. It's also your executive tool to get your confidence back when you've been knocked off your game. So look at this. It looks very simple, and it is simple, but we believe it's profound. Looks like an archery target. The center ring, there's outcomes that you fully influence and control as a leader in an organization. We want our executives spending 80% of their time in things that they fully influence and control. And we want our executives empowering those on their team to influence and control the things that lie in their realm. The second ring is the middle ring. It's outcomes that you can influence as a leader, but you can't control. We want you spending about 20% of your time in this ring. These are like gold token moments. You shouldn't spend a ton of time in this ring because you can't control the outcomes, but you should be influencing the things that could give you the most benefit, whether it be for your talent, your business model, your consumer, your innovation. This is where we want you spending 20% of your time and 0% of your time in the third ring, the outer ring. COVID-19 has taken this and flipped it in a huge way. For most leaders, that center ring of things that you could influence and control was large. Many of those things that you could influence and control 2 months ago in your business, in your organization, in your life, have now been spun out of that center ring and pushed out into the outer ring or even the middle ring if you're lucky. So there's been a constriction of the center ring and an expansion of the outer ring. That leads to stress. That leads to emotional stress, mental stress, tactical stress, because we are spending time still letting go of the things that we used to control, the things that we used to influence. We can get caught in conversations in our organizations and out in our communities and with our families on everything that's outer ring. We can spend a massive amount of time there. We have created an exercise where you get to take all the things you're thinking about, mental, all the emotions that you're feeling, and then looking at all the tactical things that you're doing and put them on this diagram and begin to think, where am I spending my time? Am I 80% center ring or not? We want you then in this exercise to be saying, if I'm going to be center ring, what are my priorities and how do I need to begin leading them there? This is an exercise that we can come in and do with your executive team around the organization, or even individually coach you if you'd like around it. But it's a profound tool when you get your team together and you have them start thinking about the business. Right now, what are the things that we can actually influence and control about our business? What are the things we're going to be able to influence and control 6 months from now, 9 months from now? What are the things we can't? And then how do we elevate those? So it is, Kurt Wilkin, a huge mindset shift that this requires. It's also something that's going to require us to adapt. It means we have to lead different. We have to think different. We have to communicate around different things. And I love that someone's team is on fire and that this tool has already energized them. So continue to lean into this. You can request this coaching exercise in the link that you have. If you pour into this, you won't only regain focus, you'll regain confidence, and you'll regain positivity, and you'll regain connection with all those that you're leading, because this will lead to purpose. So purpose-driven leadership. Transformation begins with your leadership focus. If we are not doing this, I want to talk just about the impacts. If we have CEOs and leaders that are running around trying to control and influence things that are in that third ring or too much in the second ring, this reduces the strategic innovation of your role. You're not focused on what you should be delivering, and you can deliver to actually help the talent and the business and the consumer in this given market. This will also slow your agility because of the distractions and the focus. Most importantly, we see a lot of executives and CEOs spending time in that third ring and second ring, even in good economic situations. And the challenge of that is that it just masks the dynamics and suspends the actions that your business needs to take. We can't be in the business of propping up the business right now. We need to be in the business of aligning the business and focusing the business in what we know is going to drive performance through our teams, through our business model, through our agility. So double down, get focused in the center ring, realign your talent to the center ring, and remove the distractions that are taking you outside of that first and second ring. We're now going to talk a little bit about strategy. I'm looking here just to see if there's any other thoughts or questions. I'm looking for, I'd love to hear about companies who are in the process of shifting their business model for the long haul. Ooh, that's a good one. I'll give one example of that right now. We have a client who's in manufacturing. They happen to manufacture brushes for the cosmetic industry. Think of like mascara brush. That mascara brush is something that served them very well, and they make all different types of brushes as well. But when this conversation first started around COVID-19, it was the planning around like, how do we protect? How do we secure our resources? And the pivot now is actually, how do we use our technology to make the brush that is now the medical swab for the test kits that are going to be in demand here and moving forward? So the interesting thing about most of the medical swabs is that they're made in Italy. We know Italy was significantly impacted. And we also know that Italy is not someone who you're going to be able to take this patent and innovation from. It's outside the United States, so even the US couldn't restrict the use of it for this event. So they have pivoted their business model using their technology, their innovation, to make this brush that can now be a leading generator for them in their business. This won't be a product that goes away. This will be a supplement to the products that they have moving forward. So there's like an example where they're shifting their business model for the long haul. We also have a gentleman who's actually hired teams, used PPP money actually, to hire software teams to come in and invent the API for loan approval for the PPP process. So banks weren't built to loan money based on payroll. This is an example of an innovation where they're pivoting an entire business model. As a leader, you basically have 3 levers that you can pull in strategy. When we go work on site in our business performance services, we examine strategy through these 3 lenses. We call it the visionary leadership, which is like a new business model. And when we say a new business model, it's not only the strategy and what your strategy contains, but it's how you leverage your talent to build the strategy and execute the strategy. It's a visionary leadership moment because you're leveraging all the leadership in your organization to build this. We're going to talk about some strategies that you should be thinking about in your business model here in a second. The second lever you can pull is your organizational agility. It's a new way of operating. How can you leverage this new collaboration, this new platform for collaboration innovation in your business model? So we're going to talk about some organizational agility pieces moving up. And then the third one is your integrated talent management, a new talent perspective. You are going to be able to pull huge talent levers here moving forward. Some of them are get-tos, some of them are going to have to be have-tos. We are going to have to figure out a way to lead people effectively in this remote landscape. We're going to get a new talent perspective in regards to what our talent needs and what makes our talent effective. We'll share some other strategies in regards to talent. But don't just think about what you're selling and what the consumer needs are. As a leader and executive, your entire performance and profitability of a company extends across these 3 categories. All 3 have been proven to drive performance and profit. We believe the fiduciary responsibility of the CEO is to have amazing strategies across all 3 of these, because this is what allows you to have competitive advantage. This is what allows you to be a leader, an industry leader. We have a piece called Reimagining Profit and Performance on our Insights page. If you want to read more around the logic around why CEOs need to reshape the way they build strategy, feel free to do that. But we believe if you've ever been rafting, you need to have all oars in the water, paddling in sync to navigate this calm current, but also the rough current. All 3 of these are oars. You should be thinking about your comprehensive strategy in all of these areas. So let's dive in a little bit on visionary leadership. We're going to talk about the remote technology and processes for business development. And many of us have had a massive disruption around how we go and find our clientele. There are no longer mass conventions to be networking and talking with others. There's not the conversation sitting next to somebody on the airplane happening right now where you get 2 hours to talk about what you do best to make those connections and drive business. We are having to find new ways to do business development. What I can share with you is that business development has some very unique aspects to it right now that you should be leveraging. For most of our clients and ourselves, when we're talking to someone about a service, we're being welcomed into their home. We have access to build a completely different relationship with our clients because of the knickknacks on their wall that you see like right behind me that we can talk about, but also seeing their family members. It is a personal dynamic that you could never recreate when you're sitting across from the conference room table. There's also the strategy where you used to send sales teams, 2 or 3 salespeople to go convert someone or a salesperson. We have clients now that are bringing the entire team that's going to be working on a project and putting them on the screen in front of the client so they get to meet all of the people and see all of the expertise that's going to be delivering the service for them. So business development is no longer a conversation for an individual or a sales team. It is becoming a conversation for the implementation team as well. Imagine the power of the consumer when they get to see all the faces and people that are going to be behind them taking care of their business. Reinvent your business development model. We're going to talk a little bit about strategic partnerships. A great development strategy is one that recognizes that organic growth is going to be tripped up here for a while. So we need to really innovate on our strategic growth. One of those is through strategic partnerships, and I'm going to give you an example of that. Strategic partnerships are fantastic ways to grow your business when you can find somebody who represents your values, delivers an exceptional service that's complementary to your service. So we have a strategic partner, Hire Better. Hire Better places talent in a very exceptional, unique way because they align talent to strategy. We are a huge strategy firm. We believe in executive strategy and embedding strategy throughout the organization. They align talent to strategy. We don't place talent. Our clients need exceptional talent to execute. Hire Better is the best in the business at that. So we find the best in the business that shares our values, that can solve a pain point for our client. And that talent also helps us that they place execute our strategies and generate success in the business. It's a win-win. We help Hire Better find clients that they can execute with, and Hire Better helps us find clients as they're placing talent that need coaching or strategic services or organizational or agility services. It is a new way of generating growth that is strategic and doesn't rely on the organic. Find those best-in-class complementary partners and begin to build strategic partnerships. People are more open to strategic partnerships now than ever. The last thing I want you to think about is speed of building versus acquiring. You can build talent, you can build service offerings in your business, or you can acquire bolt-ons. There are going to be multiple opportunities for acquisitions in the market ahead. Begin to look at the companies who, if you had the opportunity for acquisition, would be the perfect bolt-on. Chances are you're going to have to get creative in how those deals get made because of the market dynamics, but that's going to play to your advantage if you're the acquirer. Think about what you can achieve through acquisition in this market versus building. 2 years ago, with a influx of cash, businesses being propped up because cash was so affordable and the economy being so strong, acquiring businesses was expensive. You're going to see a reduction in that, and you should be ready and prepared to leverage that. Let's talk about some organizational agility strategies. I'm going to go through these next couple slides quick in case there's some questions at the end here. Think about organizational agility. You have a renewed desire for human connection across all of your talent and consumers. We have innovation that is now spanning geography and roles through these virtual platforms. How do you capture what you have been given in this new way of innovating and collaborating and bring that back to the workspace if your organization is transitioning back to the workspace? You have an opportunity right now to take this innovation where it doesn't matter if you're on the 3rd floor or the 4th floor. If you were in the San Francisco office, the New York office, take that innovation because everybody has one screen, they all have equal access, they can all come together, take that innovation and capture it. It would have taken an immense amount of effort and a huge investment in resources to create this type of innovation in your company organically or strategically. It's happened organically. We have to be thinking as leaders, how do we maintain this engagement when we return back to our work model if you're returning back to an office model? Organizational agility begins with communication. There have been great crisis plan communications right now. The thing that challenges us at Transcend is we believe that your crisis communication should be exceptional, but your day-to-day communication should be just as exceptional. You shouldn't need to ramp up communication for crisis. You should have amazing communication protocols around what's driving the business and inspiring people every single day. So this has created an environment where employees across the organization have been given transparency to information. They're not going to want to go back to the black box. So as a leader, begin thinking about what are the communication strategies and tools that we've been embedding that we're going to continue, and what does that look like on a more business as usual landscape? Because people are going to want to continue to have access to information the same way they do now. Integrated talent management. We are talking about a massive opportunity. It is an employer market for talent that's going to be rolling out here. It was an employee market for talent for almost a decade. Employers are going to have the opportunity to acquire talent at a different rate and a different level of experience than they have in the past. You need to take this up. We are encouraging you to take this opportunity to think of your future state business strategy and use COVID-19 as the platform to begin embedding the talent that you're going to need 5 years from now. Do not shy away from overqualified talent at this point in time. Find ways to maximize them. You're going to need the innovative thinking, the insights from across industries, different competitors that you'll be bringing in through this talent in order to not just survive, but thrive. We want you to be looking at 20 to 30% of your talent and be saying, is this the right strategic talent for the future state of the business, and be making those changes. That is across all levels of your organization, from executive leadership, maybe it's you're adding talent, you're removing talent there. It could be at your senior leadership level. It could be down at your implementation level, but you should be thinking about 30%, 20 to 30% of talent altering for your long range vision. You're going to have to be super agile in the months ahead. Agility comes from innovative ideas, new ways of doing. You don't have to build all of that. You can acquire that through new talent. Begin thinking of the talent at your competitors that is exceptional talent, and begin to think about their runway at that business and what their runway in your business could look like. The time to strike is just right around the corner. So that's another great example of how you would balance real-time leadership and managing the real-time demands with what's coming next, is to begin to think about your talent strategy. And again, our partners at Hire Better, we couldn't recommend them enough. They're phenomenal. We also want to talk about prioritizing the non-urgent tasks that are important. As business owners and leaders, we tend to focus on the important, urgent things all the time. This is an opportunity to align your talent to focus on the important, non-urgent tasks that are going to make your business more scalable and more sustainable and competitive on the road ahead. Many of the businesses that are struggling right now are struggling because they didn't do the important things that were non-urgent as far as infrastructure, because they were able to meet their customer needs as is, and they didn't necessarily put the protocols, the technology, the things in place in order to be able to pivot. So focus on the things that are important, non-urgent. And as always, double down on investing in your talent and culture. This is your opportunity to be an employer brand of choice. This is an opportunity to have your talent be your best brand ambassadors, to be recruiting and selling this organization as the organization of the future. Do not underinvest in your talent and culture at this moment. It is a tendency for CEOs and executive leaders to restrict in development at this phase of the game. We are seeing our most innovative clients invest heavily in training and development to take this pause in the economy and the consumer demand to upskill their talent for what they think is on the horizon. That is innovative thinking. That is offensive thinking in post-COVID world. So with that, there's a couple questions that I'm just going to leave you with beyond this, which are, how are you going to generate the adoption of a offensive mindset in your organization? We're there to help you, and you can ask us if it would be a great partnership for us to come in and spend a couple hours with your team to help embed some of that. But this responsibility lies upon you. You have this information. You have these coaching exercises. How do you get your own mindset and your own strategic thinking in line? And then how are you going to communicate and embed that across your community? The other thing I'm going to leave you with as a question is, what are the new and agile tactics that you already know you need to adapt to? And what will it take for you to begin to prioritize those sooner rather than later? It's about centering. This is your moment to define the future. And while you don't have control over every variable, you have control over your mindset and your leadership. So with that, I don't see any other questions that are popping up, but I am going to stop here for a second and talk about the coaching tools. You can request the 2 coaching tools via the email. You can also request through the link in the email. You can also request the executive or forum sessions through the email as well. We have an entire team here that's here to support your transformation. We love empowered leaders because that means we get to have impact in the world, and we want to see you succeed. So if you've enjoyed this presentation, stay connected with us, sign up, read our insights, reach out. We're here for you, and enjoy the new mindset of playing offense in COVID-19. It's Friday. Celebrate, get out, share the message, and we look forward to seeing you soon. Thank you so much from Team Transcend.